I'd like to call to order the August 3rd public hearing for the City of Tampa's Architectural Review Commission. Welcome, everyone. I'm Ted Kempton, Chair of the Commission. If you are here to present a project, you have limited time to make your presentation, so we suggest being thorough but concise. When coming to the microphone, you will need to identify yourself and your relationship to the project. The commissioners will not ask any questions during your presentation. Your project should be presented in the following order: site plan, elevations, architectural details, wall sections. Staff will then present their report. We will then ask for public comment. Please state and spell your name clearly if you are here to speak for or against a project. Your time will be limited to 3 minutes, so take some time now to summarize your comments because 3 minutes goes by very quickly. Following public comment, the commissioners will ask questions in the same order as the presentation. Next, the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal. The public hearing will then be closed. After the public hearing is closed, no further testimony can be given. The commissioners will then discuss the case and make their decision based on Chapter 27 of the City Code of Ordinances, the design guidelines, the Secretary of Interior standards, Historic Preservation Development Review Committee comments, and the testimony given at the public hearing. The ARC can only act on items that are within our specific jurisdictional responsibility. Owner agents are independently responsible to obtain any appropriate permits and/or approvals. If you haven't already done so, please silence cell phones. And I'll start on my left with the introduction of commissioners.
Elena Perez Ketchum, Attorney Representative.
John Prokop, I practice architecture.
Tim Jones, Certified Building Inspector and General Contractor.
Okay, also in attendance from the City of Tampa, we've got Ron Vila, Jared Varnum, and our attorney, Dana Crosby Collier. Okay, we're looking for a motion for the minutes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes from last month.
Second.
All right. Seeing no discussion, all in favor of accepting the minutes of July 6th and 8th, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ron Vila, I'm a planner with Historic Preservation. Under announcements this evening, we have the minutes, the ARC staff approvals that are entered into your packet. You could review these. I think we sent them to you ahead of time as well, and we're going to receive and file these at the end of the meeting. Also, this month of our Tampa Bricks and Mortar, we're featuring a front porch renovation that I have some photos to share with you. And just to bring to your attention as well, we will be having a Wednesday public hearing. We have 2 cases, so we'll be back in these chambers on Wednesday. And next month, instead of having a Monday and a Wednesday meeting, we have 2 Wednesday meetings. So there's a conflict to this room on the Monday. So we have the 2nd and the 9th of September. We'll be meeting in this room on Wednesdays. Moving to the preservation in progress. That will continue our discussion on the front porch renovation. So this property came in front of you a while back. There was an ad valorem attached to it as well. And when staff meets the clients out in the field, we always try to get the front porch reestablished into the neighborhood. It's a front porch community, and then engagement with the pedestrian, the sidewalks, and the streets is very important. Also in this picture, you see that there is no parking on site. So through the years, this became multifamily, but the traditional linear vehicular access was eliminated, and as part of the process moving forward, we had them reestablish that. So just to give you a sense of place, it's one parcel in from the corner of Watrous. It's on Gumby. There is an alley that runs behind it. Here shows the property in question. If you zoom in, you see that what's hatched in the front of the structure itself indicates that it was an open porch. So the open porch ran the whole distance of the front facade. These were the drawings that came forward in 2025, showing the reestablishment of a drive aisle that's more consistent with the historic fabric, opening up the front porch, and they displaced some of the square footage that they lost to the rear. So the yellow shows an addition, a one-story addition to the rear. This drawing here shows that the porch was enclosed, and now you see the knee wall that's here on the porch. And a lot of times when they enclose the porch, the fenestration stays behind it. So these windows were there, we know where the openings were at, and that was part of the renovation. This is the rear, once again showing the site plan and what was approved, and then the rear, it had a porch in the back, and they came forward with a multi-gable rear, picture the roof the same with a low transitional deck. As I stated, there was an ad valorem associated with this. So with the ad valorem, we look at the inside too. Just going back to the front porch, you see how the porch was enclosed and everything was brought to the front facade. And you saw through the drawings that the doors were recessed back to where they're originally set at, and the windows were removed. As I stated, some of the interior features, they have these built-ins here with the columns that will be retained. They have the original single-hung windows that they will evaluate and see if they could be incorporated into the project. If not, they will have period-appropriate windows. This was the kitchen, so you see some of the cabinetry in the kitchen and the Dutch door off the back that will be retained as part of the project. You will see this again. This was the ad valorem part 1. You will see part 2 after post-rehabilitation. This was the addition in the rear house going up. It is stick construction. And just to close, this is the structure as it continues to go towards that rehabilitation. But you see some of the placement of the windows and doors that were there already, and you're keeping consistent with that. But the porch will re-engage into the neighborhood. So that concludes the preservation in progress. At this time, we'll have legal address the board.
Good evening, Dana Crosby Collier, Legal Office. Wondering if anyone has a conflict of interest with any item on the agenda this evening?
I do not.
No? Has any member had any ex parte communication regarding any item on the agenda this evening?
I have not.
Thank you.
So at this time, we'll do the swearing. Everybody that wishes to testify, please stand up and raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony being provided today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Moving to our first agenda item, which is ARC-25-00-00524. This is for the address of 5605 North Branch Avenue. The existing structure has about 1,500 square foot. They're adding approximately 400 square foot for a total of 1,900 square foot. The current structure was built in 1925. It is a contributing structure of the Craftsman style. The request in front of you this evening is for a certificate of appropriateness for new construction in addition to the primary with site improvements. Moving to the photo presentation. On the right, you have our vicinity map. And to zero in on that, we have it over here that shows that it is a contributing structure. It does face Branch, and there is an alley to the rear. Here you see it highlighted within this green box. You have Powhatan to the north, and you have Comanche to the south. I always like to show the Sanborn map so you can see the vernacular of the structure and how it was before any alterations could have taken place. But you see a front porch here as well, as indicated by the hatched in on the front. Here, off a Branch. Here looking at the front porch as it's open, you see some of the character-defining features with the knee brackets, the roof pitch, and the portico share. See a traditional ribbon drive coming into the property. This is the south elevation. You see the brackets again on that elevation, and then over here, you see the exposed rafter tails with a generous overhang. This is the rear elevation, which is going to receive the addition. Some of the surrounding properties. This is the abutting property to the north. You have the abutting property south, all in kind of the same Craftsman style. Some street shots. Nice canopy of the trees. Does have a sidewalk on both sides. Looking down Branch to the south. And just to conclude with a couple alley shots. There is no change to the alley, but just like to show you the dynamics of the neighborhood. And that concludes the photo presentation. At this time, we'll have the agent address the board.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is George Lamb. I am the agent to the owner, also the lead designer to the project that I'm going to be presenting you tonight. So thank you, Ron, for your introduction and just giving you a little bit of what the design intent of the exterior and the addition to the existing structure. Just wanted to show that in the beginning. Site plan showed basically on the left side is the existing condition, which there is an existing deck. The design intent is really to just build over that, remove the existing deck and promote the new addition on that same area. Ran all the calculations just to make sure we didn't have any impacts on the impervious or pervious ratios. So on the right side is the new addition with an extended proposed deck, which is complementary to the structure. Going to skip over to just the elevations so you can see the side elevations to the house. I do apologize for the grammar there. So this is looking from the carport onto the side of the residence, the existing residence. So you can see that the intent was to try to complement the existing main residence, but also introduce a little bit more distinct characters with the windows and also the trim along the new addition of the structure. Plan is to keep the same kind of materiality with the roof shingles and lap siding, and then do stucco piers around the existing structure, and then promote the exterior deck on the rear. On the other side, on the west side of the building, actually. So you can see again, it's just in the basically. Just showing the mirror of the three windows at the top of the new addition. There is no new windows here, as there's a proposed bathroom in this area, and the rest of it is just complementary to the existing structure. And then over to the rear side of the facade. This is the design intent. It is a little bit of a different character, and obviously it is on the rear side of the building, but there is some complementary pieces that we're trying to reintroduce, like the lattice attic vents that are on the main front side of the facade. The windows at the first floor is just another kind of transition between the new and the old, and then the brackets, which will be the same brackets as promoted on main existing residence. We're still doing the exposed rafter tails, same kind of pier systems. The lap siding, we can promote on different, I guess from a 4-inch to 6-inch profile kind of look, just to distinguish the new and the old. And then the trim bands, which is a distinct characteristic of the new versus the existing house, which does not have any. On the side here's just a cross-section of what this would look like. The intention is to recess the windows in, similar to the main residence. Also to use a wood-appropriate window type, and it will sit on top of these piers. They will be stuccoed, and then the raised platform. And it is a 1.5-story volume space, so I know it's a little bit of a different character from the rest of the neighborhood, but wanted just to kind of show and indicate that. And then we're also promoting these, I guess you could say it's almost similar to like a nano wall or nano doors, bifolding doors that would open similar to this would be kind of like that look and feel to get that openness of the outside. Next here is just a few of the materialities. Like I said, we're introducing or reintroducing similar materials of the finishes on the brackets. These would be painted. I just wanted to indicate that they would be wood to be similar to the existing residence. The windows, we're promoting to use a wood window. I know it's a little bit of a challenge with the new aesthetic windows, which are the ones here. So it could be a little bit of a challenge, but we feel like this particular manufacturer can provide some of these capabilities with the window types. And they've come a long way now with Kobe, so there's now impact rated as well as an option. The lap siding, which is going to be very similar to what's on the existing house, this will be painted, but I wanted to indicate and show that it would be a wood. It would not be a synthetic or a cementitious kind of application, just to complement and preserve the historic guidelines. The deck, what we're trying to promote is something similar to a wood look. It is the only piece of the part of the structure. Well, it's more of just the deck, so it's not vertical, it's more horizontal, so you wouldn't see much of it. But we would like to explore and using the option of a Trex deck, but have the grains and look and feel of a wood material finish. And then the railings and the guardrail, again, similar to the context, we're trying to promote something that has a little bit more longevity than just standard wood, gives a little bit of a more contemporary kind of modern take to the rear facade, and it's just trying to capture a moment of time between the old and the new of the structure. The shingles would be just a standard shingle, similar to what's on the existing residence. We would try to find something that matches. This was the closest that we could find at this time, but we would be using something very similar to this. And then I wanted to kind of just really briefly just discuss on a few other case samples. I know that because this is more of the public way and the historic value and the preservation off of it, and just showing very similar neighborhood residents that carry the same 1.5 story, but it's all the way to the back. So this would be very similar to what we're trying to promote here. This is one of the case samples here, is 5306 North Central, built in 1915. It's a craftsman, bungalow, very similar kind of context. Again, it's just pushed further back so you couldn't see too much on the public side, and it still respects the historic of the main residence in the front. And another case study here, 5912 on Central Ave. Same kind of the approach and the design of what we're trying to do here, which is pushing the addition in the further back, so it's still preserving the main public view, just looking at the main front historic part of the building. And last one is 308 East Jean. It's probably the closest similarity to what the current residence of the project, where you have a carport, the existing kind of bungalow style or craftsman style in the front. And I know it's really hard to see, but there is a second floor addition all the way towards the back of the residence. So here's just the floor plan, just to get an idea of the project. And with that, I conclude my presentation.
Good evening, Ron Vila, staff with Historic Preservation. Staff's finding that this project is consistent with the Seminole Heights Design Guidelines and the Secretary of Interior Standards for Rehabilitation. In reviewing this project, it has some items that were controversial at the time. We worked together to assist him to bring it more in compliance, that we feel it is consistent. When you look at the Secretary of Interior Standards, there's some bullet items that when you do an addition, that it should be on a secondary or non-character defining elevation, that the addition results in the least possible loss of historic fabric, and that there's a distinction between the old and the new. So as you go down the side, I think that it kind of plays well together, and then when it goes to the rear, there's some discussion points that I'm sure they're going to be elaborated on this evening. On the staff report on page 6, you know, it talks about the differentiation between the old and the new. The structure, the addition is bumped in on the sides, and then obviously there's a point there that you could tell that that was an addition. The windows on the rear are all single paned, 1/1. I think on the upper story, they're the same. On the sides, it kind of continues the mullion pattern that's there. I think there's further discussion. Maybe the whole addition takes on that 1/1 pattern, so everything that's new will transfer around to the rear. At times, the drawings show that there was hardy siding that has been removed. He stated this evening that it's all going to be wood. There was a roof over the rear, just the rear portion where the doors are at. That was the roofing material was not called out. We'd like to see what that is. And then he did state that he's going to have the exposed rafter tails, but when you look on the side, the fascias were implemented into the design, so those rafter tails don't read. So we need to see if he's going to remove that or what's the direction for the rafter tails. I believe that concludes my portion here, and I will be here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Great. Is there anybody in the audience that's here to speak for or against this project? All right, not seeing anyone, we will start with questions from the commissioners on my right.
Thank you. Applicant, can you step back up? Can you go to your site plan, please? Is that in front of, if you'll zoom in to your proposed site plan over where your mechanicals are, is there a fence to the front of that area? Is that a privacy fence that's shown right there?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Can you show me the rear elevation? So your trim on your windows that you have proposed here is different than what you have proposed on the side. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there a reason that we can't have them all the same on the addition?
No objection to
Okay.
adding those.
Okay, and did you have any, staff has suggested maybe doing a 1/1 on all the windows on the addition. Are you opposed to that either?
Nope.
Okay, all right. The roofing material on your shed roof that's over your nano wall there,
Yeah,
do we have material that's going to be there?
it would be the same. It would
The
be
shingles?
shingles.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we just need to call that out,
Yeah,
okay? On your wall detail,
Mhm.
yep, it appears that your windows are flush to the exterior. Is that the way it's shown?
No, it should be correct. It will sit, so it'd be basically, recessed in.
Okay, so
So,
that
yeah.
wall
Yeah,
elevation needs to be
it should
corrected?
match more like the upper, which is more recessed in, yeah.
Okay, all right. Your material palette, you're showing rough sawn cedar pre-finished siding, and you're saying that you're gonna have it painted, and you were just trying to represent that it was wood. What type of wood is it gonna be smooth sanded? Is it gonna be a pine?
It would be preferred to go to a pine, because
Mhm.
the existing house is on pine. It would be sanded, treated, and then painted.
Okay, all right. Your deck, you're saying you wanna use a Trex style deck. Are you opposed to going with wood on that rear area?
I would have to ask the client.
Client? Okay.
Yeah.
But you'd be open to discussing it?
I mean, I would prefer the synthetic material, but if I cannot do it, then I guess I can't.
Okay. Can you go back to your front elevation? I'm sorry. Go back to the front elevation so I can see. No, that's the rear.
I don't have a front one here.
So we don't know what the addition's gonna look out from the front of the house. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't have one,
Okay.
sorry.
And then staff has made a note that it appears on your image that you have here that your exposed rafters aren't exposed since you have a fascia. Is it your intent to have exposed rafters with no fascia?
Yes, yeah, that
So-
would be an intent.
So then there won't be a gutter?
No, there won't be a gutter there.
Okay. And last, well, maybe not last, your fill material between your columns on your base for your crawl space, do you have a fill material in between your columns called out there?
Let me see. Oh, between on the deck or on the main,
On the main house there?
on the main house?
Mm-hmm.
It would just be stucco. I think the rendering, when it produces its rendering, it starts creating other.
So are you
pieces
gonna have
of it.
columns or is it gonna be a solid stem wall?
No, it would be columns.
Okay, so
there'll-
what's
there'll
gonna be between the columns? Is there gonna be anything between the columns?
No, like the current house doesn't have anything, so it's
Okay.
all open.
All right. Okay, thank you. This is last. Hardware and lighting on the exterior. Do you have any lighting on the back of the house, on the exterior? Any hardware, door hardware, anything like that?
Door hardware,
That's gonna be part of
no.
the nano wall? I
Yeah,
assume?
and it would just be whatever the
Yeah.
manufacturer provides, yeah.
Do you have any lighting on the back of the house?
It would be under the soffit here, under this, the little awning. So it'd just be some lights.
A recessed
lights.
lighting?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't think of anything else right now.
Commissioner Brogan? You don't need code-wise, you don't need the railing on the edge of the deck, correct?
I'm sorry, for code,
Yeah.
I believe I do just because of the height.
What's the height?
This is,
Above grade?
this is about 2 feet.
Okay, you don't need it at 2 feet. I don't know, the code
Okay.
is 30 inches.
30 inches, okay.
Yeah. Are you married to the aircraft cable and steel and modern railing? And I'm not opposed to it, I'm just asking you, are you married to it?
It would be rods, they wouldn't be air cables. That would be the design intent,
Okay.
yeah. But, I guess I would ask the client if he's opposed or not.
Okay.
With,
I'm okay with no railing.
okay, no railing at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the requirements was they did ask for a west elevation, and you didn't come with a west elevation today. It's the front of the house. That was one of the conditions that we were given. What's the overhang of all the rafter tails, the roof overhang?
Oh, what's the,
Do we have dimensions on any of them?
let me see, I thought I did. I don't, it would be 16 inches. I thought I had put it on there.
Okay.
Yeah, but it would be 16 inches.
All right, I don't have any other questions right now.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, while we're talking about the overhangs, what is the dimension of the existing house overhang?
I don't have an accurate measurement there. It was a little challenging to try to get it because they're slightly a little bit different, but it's about 16 inches from what I read from where I was at.
So essentially, they're gonna be the same.
Yes.
Okay. On this elevation, you have a decorative attic vent. On the rendering, it did not appear to have one. What is the intent?
The intent is to do this lattice, very similar to the main front house.
Okay. All right, so these windows, the upper windows, what's the intent of all that?
The client is really trying to have a look and feel of just bringing a lot of natural light into the space, which is the whole reason to elevate this a little bit higher, just to give a little bit more spacious from the interior side of it.
So you got a lot going on this elevation.
Yeah.
Did you explore any other ways to get more natural light in here?
Yes, there was quite a few different iterations. I don't have them here like that I can show right now, but there were a few different other alternative options. This is what the client wishes to have out of all the other options that I showed or that I had.
Okay. All right. Okay. So the existing house has got brick piers, but no screening in between the piers. Is that right?
There's a lattice in between the
Okay.
I know you're the owner. If you're going to want to speak, you're going to have to come up and identify yourself. I'm sorry.
there's a lattice in between the piers. Is that what
You
you
got
mean?
to state your name for the
Oh,
record.
sorry. Jose Polar, I own the house.
Okay. So there is a screen in between, a lattice screen. Okay. So is there a reason you're not going to do a lattice screen? You're not proposing to do one on this addition?
No, I mean, at first it was just assumed just to not put anything in there, but I don't mind putting in a lattice to
Okay.
complement the rest of the house. It was partly because this was treated as a new addition,
Right.
so it's just to give a little bit different character, that's all. And because we had this deck that's open as well, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
So go back to that rear elevation again. And I think you're showing it, but there's a couple of things that don't match up with the rendering. So it is the walls on the north and the south are set in from the walls of the existing residence. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, in the faint in the back is the existing and the proposed is the darker bold line showing the offset
Okay.
on both sides.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of just, there's a lot going on in that back elevation. It's throwing me off a little bit. Okay, so I have a question for Ron. Ron, in the past with the synthetic material on the deck, it has come up before.
In the back, the board has reviewed and approved certain situations, but for a replacement for a wood, there's high pay that's out there that weathers very well, and there's KDAT, is kill dried after treatment. Both of those have been successful in the field, so if you want to stay with a natural material, there are options out there.
Okay, thank you. For the applicant or the owner, would you be open to either one of those options as opposed to the synthetic material?
So is it wood and just treated differently?
IPA is a wood, it's just a very dense wood.
Oh,
And the other one's wood too, it's just kiln drying, so it's dense and it just doesn't rot as easily.
okay.
This question comes up quite often. On front porches, there is no flexibility. It has to be wood and the historic homes. So we have these products that we've witnessed over time, 5-10 years, that if you take care of them, treat them, do maintenance to them, they will have some longevity to them, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I mean, if I cannot do synthetic, I would do that.
Okay, thank you. All right, then we went over the lighting. We're not gonna see the lighting. And is there gonna be any more mechanical that's gonna be added because of this addition?
No, not based on the configuration of what the addition is.
Okay.
It's fine, yeah.
And again, and no downspouts, no gutters?
No.
All right. And was there a reason you didn't come with the western elevation?
Honestly, I thought it was in this package, but it just didn't appear to be added into the sheet. I did have one, but I just looking over the set, I didn't see it added into it, so.
Okay, so, so for the record, give me the elevation that, from the peak of the existing
Mhm.
to the peak of the proposed. What is that elevation change?
So the peak of the existing, let's see, because I'm showing,
So the proposed is what, 18.6?
it's gonna be 18.6 is the proposed,
Okay,
and, let me see, I can do a quick. uh, It's almost 4 feet of a difference.
okay. Okay, those are the questions I have. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay. All right, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal if you so choose.
Nope, not this time.
Okay. All right, at this point, we're going to close the public portion of the hearing and we will move on to discussions. All right, the floor is open.
I think he needs to do some more homework. His plans aren't mentioned, his elevations, he doesn't have some materials called out. I would have no problem him working with staff on finalizing the small details, but I don't feel comfortable right now that he has conflicts inside of his drawings, that if we approved them, what are we approving? The elevations or the plans? The material call out or the plan call out? It just seems to be conflicting each other, so.
I understand the conceptual nature of what he's presented to us, you know. Yes, is he missing a few things that are required? Yeah. I don't have a problem with the design. I don't have a problem with the design of the windows. I think it's a rear-facing rear addition that is you know, not as onerous as it looks like on you're saying confusing with the big glass and all that. I'm a proponent of modern additions to historic buildings, or at least, you know, going more modern and not repeating the historic materials and character and changing things up a little bit. I don't have a problem with this. I thought I would.
I would like to see what it's gonna look like from the street. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that elevation, because I don't know how's it gonna present from the street, right? 4 foot, he noted on his presentation is 4 foot above. What is that for? Is it just a solid 4 foot wall? Is it got?
There's no glazing. There's no windows.
Right,
Yeah,
you're right.
it's just a
wall.
a 4-foot wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of bland.
80 feet back or 100
that's
feet
true.
back.
Yeah.
You know, that from walking on the sidewalk, driving down the street, you
Probably
won't
never
see,
see it.
you won't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I know that we want an elevation just
Yeah.
to show that we've seen it. But elevations are fake. Elevations are projections that don't represent what actually gets seen from a human being and a perspective, you know.
Okay.
No one ever is up at the roof peak and looking at that 4-foot height piece.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a little more wider window trim on the exterior, on those rear windows. I'd like to, you know, it looks a little too thin. I'd like to see that. The exposed rafter tails, of course. He said the height was only 2 feet, but then there was a dimension on one of the elevations I saw that looked like the porch was higher than 2'6". It was 2'9", I think was the dimension. So I
Yes.
can't,
It was four risers, so
Yes, four
it could be
risers,
7
yeah,
inches.
20 to
7 or-
30 inches.
yeah.
Or could do it at 32.
I mean, we could simply say they're okay with no railing as long as that's
What's
code
your
honorable.
concern about the railing?
It's a foreign, it's not only is it, I'm not contradicting myself, but I'm saying that, you know, there's an ability to be modern and change the geometry of things, but a steel rod railing is not appropriate. It's just the only way I can think of right now. If it was a steel and glass and modern addition, which it really isn't, it's a gabled addition with some funky windows, I could understand that change of that railing does not go with this house. I guess that's the only way I can
Okay.
put it.
So, other question is, the 1/1, somebody brought that up.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate. I think it's inappropriate to have the 3/1 or the 4/1 windows in this addition because of the nature of the exterior, the second floor
I think
windows and
that'll
all that
go
kind
a
of
long
stuff.
way to clean it up. and
It'll
simplify it.
simplify,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the look
Um,
of the back.
I think it's gonna be a lovely space. I really do. Bright.
Ellen, do you?
I think there should be a railing, whether it's that railing. I think it's gonna look odd not to have. So if we can leave room for him to work with staff on an appropriate railing.
Yeah.
Because when you walk out, I don't know, it's just kind of odd, you walk onto a deck and there's no railing.
Mhm.
Like there should be a rail, there's steps going down, there's not steps going up the front. It'd be different if off the front towards the backyard, there were steps going down.
Mhm.
But just to have a blank and then you turn this way to go down steps and there's nothing there
Okay.
visually. So I would like to leave it open for him to work with staff on a railing that the staff thinks is appropriate.
But,
If he chooses to have a railing, or he could choose not to have a railing.
but I'm hearing from you two that you are comfortable enough with the
Yes.
drawings. Okay. What about you from an aesthetic and?
I'm okay, the window trim on the back porch, I think needs to be beefed up, because right now it looks almost like aluminum windows up top, right? It's got a very thin rail,
yeah,
the
yeah.
framing and stuff, it needs to have some beefed up there, other than that, I'm okay with he needs to get a consistent set of drawings to present to staff, so that when staff approves it, we know what they're approving.
Mhm.
Right now, if they were staff approved, it would be a hodgepodge, I don't think that's accurate.
And then what about the lattice? I just,
The lattice has to be.
I think
I
there
think
should
it
be
has to be there,
lattice.
right?
Yeah,
I just-
Yeah.
It's not, to Commissioner Prokop, it's not a modern addition, so
Right.
it needs to be there. Okay, any other comments? Who wants to go? Got names.
I'll go. I would like to make a motion, let's see, what am I doing? Move to grant certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing for ARC dash 26-00001, nope, wrong one, wrong case, almost was the wrong one, sorry about that, thank you.
Yeah.
I got it. ARC-25-0000524 for the property located at 5605 North Branch Avenue, because based on the fact and findings, no, with the following conditions. That the rear elevation window trim be increased to match the existing side dimensions. The roof material on the rear door shed roof be called out to match what's on the roof. To have the windows in the rear addition set back in the framing to be not flush with the face. To show that the siding is gonna be a pine sanded siding that will be painted and not a rough cedar that's being shown currently. That the deck railing be discussed with staff. Elevations be updated and produced to match the plans, including the front elevation. We add lattice screens between the piers on the addition. That a wood product is used for the decking in place of Trex. I'm sorry, what?
The
Oh,
windows.
the windows being 1/1, and then, yeah, and then call out and revise the plan to show 16-inch overhang with exposed rafter tails, no fascia, and no gutters. Because, based on the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Seminole Heights Historic District Design Guidelines of the City of Tampa. For the following reasons, it produces the proper massing and scale, and adheres to the Secretary of Interior standards.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Could the applicant, do you understand those conditions and do you agree?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have a motion, it's been seconded, the applicant has agreed with the stipulations. Any other discussion? All right, not seeing any, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, good luck with it.
Good evening, Commissioner. Ron Avila, I'm staff with Historic Preservation. Our next agenda item is ARC-26-00000171. This is for the address of 407 East Adderley Street. This is in the Tampa Heights Historic District. This is for new construction for a single-family residence with an accessory structure. The primary structure is approximately 2,300 square feet. The accessory structure is 1,100 square feet. The zoning attached to this parcel is RS50. Currently, it's a vacant lot. There's some past action on this parcel I wanted to share with you. This was the structure that was there. It was deemed an emergency demolition of the contributing structure was in 2025. We take these very seriously. Code enforcement goes out there with the preservation manager, Dennis Fernandez, and they evaluated it that it rose to that level. So currently, there is no structure there. Sharing the Sanborn map with you. Property in question is highlighted in the green parcel here. It's in between Adderley and Hugh. This is looking from above. See the property here? It's by the lake that's in Tampa Heights. This is looking at the vacant parcel. You saw this a couple months ago. The tree in question in there is no longer a question. They worked it out. They hired a professional arborist in communication with the city's arborist. The tree is no longer an issue. The tree is going to be removed. So it's not in the way of the structure. This is looking at the fabric around. This is new construction. That's on Adderley as well. This is period structure on Adderley that abuts the property to the west. Directly across the street, you have a non-contributing structure. Some street shots. This is a brick line street. Have the interstate in the background over there, and then once again you have the little lake that's in Tampa Heights. Moving in the other direction, the historic bricks with the granite curbing. And just to conclude with the alley, it is an open alley. It has not been vacated, but it's unimproved. They're choosing to do all their vehicular access off the primary street. I will have the agent address the board.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin Robles, the applicant. And I will follow the protocols as outlined in the application. So we'll start with the site plan. There we go, okay. So this lot is approximately 47 by 115. It will, we're applying for a new construction, single-family residential home with approximately 1,750 square feet in it, along with an ADU in the back under the Tampa Heights guidelines for ADUs. The front setback aligns with the two contributing structures to the left and the right with 20-foot front setback, along with the granite curb is to remain. It is to be lowered at the driveway, and we will be deeding over a 1-foot sidewalk access as transportation desires a 6-foot sidewalk. There's only 5 feet between the granite curb and the property line. The sidewalk will abut the granite curb and extend 1 foot into the sidewalk easement. The side setback at the porte cochere to the east is 7 feet. The main house side setback is 7 feet on the western side, and the ADU is 7-foot side setback on the easterly side. There are 4.25 feet at the rear, abutting the alley, and 18 feet of side setback on the westerly side. The granite curb is to remain restored and in place, and that is I'm sorry, and then you got mechanical equipment on the easterly side. There is some existing vinyl fence that belongs to the easterly neighbor that runs along the easterly side, and there is a vinyl fence, 6-foot white vinyl fence on the westerly side that belongs to the neighbor to the west. Neither one of those vinyl fences extends past the front porch of the proposed structure. The sidewalks per the guidelines for Tampa Heights are scored at every 3 feet, along with the lead walk entering up towards the welcome walls, flaring at the welcome walls up onto the front porch of the house. There is one tree to remain. There is a 10-inch live oak at the front property corner that is a shared tree along with here, along with 2 cocoa pomosa palms along the westerly edge, and as Ron mentioned, the oak at the rear of the porte cochere has now been granted a variance for removal. There is a 12-inch oak in the westerly corner between the garage apartment and the property line, and we have created a tree matrix mitigating those trees, and I have a copy of the tree matrix which has been entered into the Acela record. That was formulated with myself and Natural Resources, City of Tampa. This is a photographic copy, basically, of what the house will look like. This is an actual model that's been built previously in Tampa Heights. And I will begin with the elevations. I'm going to present a rendering Just for your benefit, prior to, does that show up there? Let's see, there we go. Oops, sorry. So, welcome to AI. That is actually just a rendering, and then I will present the floor plan, or excuse me, the elevation that actually comes from. And this is the front elevation facing north. Get it all in there for you. So, very typical design, open rafter tails, windows that are essentially marked in some sort of repeating pattern. It has a period correct front door with 2 side lights, along with a smooth finish 7-inch Hardie shiplap siding throughout both the upper floor and lower floor downstairs, upstairs and downstairs, along with a fish scale in the peak. There, in this particular one, there is a functional louver at the top that was originally listed as a synthetic product. In our discussion with historic preservation, that will be converted to wood. The style will be the same. I apologize, we didn't have time to change it prior to this meeting. Here is a rendering of the rear elevation, or the elevation to the south. It will have a petite porch on the back. This is approximately 8 feet by 8 feet, and it will continue on with the same elements, with the exception of the columns will be petite, and I will show you a column detail a little later on in the presentation. Here is a picture of the easterly elevation. And yes, sorry. And the left or easterly elevation, thematically carrying the same materials on all 4 sides of the house. I'll take you to the westerly elevation. And once again, a side view into the front porch, welcome walls, column details, and then the rear lanai in the back. We'll now take you to the accessory dwelling unit. There are, during this preparation for this, we did have discussion with historic preservation, and they have encouraged us to, this is the northern or the front elevation of the ADU. There is a copy drawing of the elevation, the front northerly elevation with a two-car double overhead garage door. In discussions with historic preservation, they have asked us to create a pair of single garages, essentially the same, but changing it to a pair of single overhead garage doors. So the only change was going from a single double car overhead garage door to a pair of singles. Here is a copy of the south or rear elevation of the accessory dwelling unit, along with the drawing, once again carrying the same materials from the house to the ADU. There is one change that what came in late. It is reported in the HP's report, staff report. Inadvertently, this has 4-inch corner trim on it, and it will be changed to 6-inch corner trim to match the house. Additionally, here is the western elevation, or the right-hand side of the ADU. And I'll turn that, let's see if you can get that in there. There we go. That's the westerly view. And finally, the left-hand side, or the easterly elevation of the ADU. With all the same materials. That's the 4 sides of the ADU. Additionally, here is the front porch wall section. This home is 2-story all block, and the windows will be recessed in a masonry type opening. We've got a PGT hurricane impact window, PG Series 5500 impact, and they will be recessed 4 inches back into the masonry openings, which is both upstairs and downstairs. Along with that, it will have the standard trim, and I have a trim detail that I'll kind of articulate to you guys. Pretty straightforward. One thing to note, there is a 2-foot by 2-foot welcome walls on both sides of the entryway. You probably noticed it in the artwork when I started. The windows recessed, beadboard at the interior ceiling. 3 and 12 pitch on the front porch roof. That's to give more elevation to the front side of the house. Main roof is 6 and 12. The garage apartment is at 4 and 12 and does meet height code of less than 22 feet 6 inches for the Tampa Heights overlay for ADUs. Here is a copy of the rear wall section at the rear porch, along with the wall detail revealing the windows in both the ADU and all 4 sides of the house, upstairs and downstairs. You have a midline installed into the masonry opening, and if you go over to the right, you have the proper headboard at the top with the quarter round, with the 5-quarter trim around all of the windows, and then a 3.5-inch deep hardy cement board sill. Here's a copy of the functional louver detail. That one lists as 5-pon. I just put a note in there, it's to be changed to wood. There is a petite small column detail at the rear patio. It's a 6x6 wrapped in 1x hardy material with a base and a collar created out of hardy as well. There are outriggers in both the front of the house and at the sides of the ADU, and the outrigger is approximately 2 feet long by 10 inches tall, with a slight chamfered cut on it. I want to step back to the site plan for just a moment. The placement of the house aligns, I know Ron did present this, but this contributing structures on the block face actually line up perfect. And the reality is that the subject property for the house that was demolished and the house directly to the left and the house directly to the right were actually triplets in an earlier life. So those houses are actually all the same, and they all line up at the 20 foot 8.4 inches exactly on the front setback. So the proposed structure will align directly with the house to the left and the right. Additionally, the entire block face seems to be pretty accurate or pretty similar across the block, which is approximately about 10 houses long on the block, maybe 8. Additionally, the height is set at 24 inches above the grade, or at 30.84, and that's within 2/10 of the house to the left and the house to the right. Additionally, I have some materials to go over with you. We use a half-inch paint grade beadboard installed on all the interior ceilings and on the open rafter tail eaves, which are 2 feet. The garage door always seems to be a little bit, the overhead garage door always seems to be a little bit of a consternation, but we believe we've landed on a clopay door that will work in this instance. I was unable to get any photographic work. This door that we're proposing will not have windows in it, but has the same door design, which is minus the window detail, is what you see right here, along with the hardware that you see that's being shown on this clopay picture. We are using a 1/1 PGT Impact Series 5500 window in a masonry setting. All the exterior lighting hardware, coach lights and all, will be in a black iron. Along with black iron exterior hardware, a Craftsman style front door, and then this solid door is for the ADU, on the exteriors of the ADU. The ADU has an enclosed staircase. That's why you see 2 doors at the bottom. So you go into an enclosed stairwell up and into the ADU. Here's a better shot of the door. It has a bit of dent, this, this is not, I apologize, this is not the door. This one has a 2/3 light door on it with the 2/3 light side lights on either side, and I apologize for that. If you'll bear with me one sec, I think. My apologies. That's the door style with the 2/3 light in it. Clear glass. That would be the style of the ADU exterior service doors. Pedestrian doors. And it is a GAF dimensional shingle in charcoal color. That's a 50-year shingle with the dimensional look to it. And that concludes. There is a antique thin brick on the base columns in the front and the porte-cochere columns. And that is in a general red brick, antique used brick color. I don't know if that portrays for y'all or not. Yeah, there we go. It's a little orange on there. It's a little more of a orangey red. Along with a 7.5 hardy cementous shiplap siding. And that concludes my presentation to the commission.
Great, thank you very much, very thorough.
Take it away, Ron.
Thank you for the complete presentation. Staff evaluation of this project, that it is consistent with the Tampa Heights Design Guidelines and the Secretary of Interior Standards. When we review new construction, we go back to the Tampa Heights Design Guidelines for scale, massing, setback, orientation, alignment, details, window proportions, entrances, and materials, maintaining quality in the district. And he's shown all of that today. On our staff report, we did have some bullet items here that needed to be addressed. Mr. Robles was a good student, and he brought all his show and tell items today. The one thing I had, he showed the mechanicals on the side there. I didn't know where the fence terminated or if there's something in front of that to shield it from the public view. I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ron. Is there anybody in the audience here tonight to speak for or against this project? Okay, not seeing anyone, we will move on to commissioner questions, starting on my left.
So 2 questions. One about the air conditioning unit. Where will
Yes.
that be located?
It's on the easterly side of the unit, and there will be either a fence material subordinate to the front porch of the house and the first window, or else it will have a vegetative buffer. I typically, in working in the district, like to work directly with Ron and his staff when it comes to fencing. And kind of the course of action is we like to get the house up, then we bring them in, and there's already a fence there, and the fence is, the existing fence to the east is not past the front plane of the house, so at some point we'll figure out a place, now whether it be a 4-foot aluminum black iron gate fence, or whether it be a 6-foot vinyl. We like to work with staff on that, or I'll be happy to work with y'all, but typically it becomes some real nuances out in the field. It's
Okay.
easier for us to get to them and say, where exactly can we put the fence?
And then how about, is there any lighting on the front of the house, the front porch?
There is coach lights, and then we run a code can in the
Okay. Okay.
in the ceiling, just because it's easier to do it that way. The lighting at the coach lights at the front door are really just the aesthetic piece.
And they're gonna be that black iron.
But black iron, yes, like a black iron.
And then tell me about the doors on the ADU.
So there is a pedestrian door as you are
Do you
at the
have the
street.
floor plan by chance?
I do.
Thank you. Very curious.
What is all that?
No, I do not have a floor. Do you have a floor plan? No, I do not have the floor plan with me. I apologize.
So there's a door, there are the two garage doors, and there's a door there.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
set that up there. Maybe I can maybe I can
Yeah.
kind of narrate my way through it. Yeah, I do. Hold on a second.
Yeah, if they're shown on the site plan, that's fine as well.
Let's see here. I might be able to walk you through it with this. I apologize. Normally the floor plans
It's
are.
okay. You might need to zoom in a
Yeah,
little
I'm gonna-
bit.
See in here. Does that give you all a visual? Oh, there we go, okay. So there is, hold on, let me do it this way. Yeah. They're upside down. There we go. So Adelaide here, and this essentially is the front or the north-facing part of the ADU. This glassed, oh, I got it now, right? Oh, there we go, okay. This enters into the stairwell that goes from the front upwards towards the back, and this window sits in top of that stairwell. You traverse up the stairs and into the ADU.
So, okay, so let me stop you there. So
Yep.
is this door gonna look like this, or is it solid like?
No, it's
thi-
gonna have it'll have a Craftsman style with a top light and a dental mold on the front. Can you,
Okay.
does that show? I
Yeah.
apologize. Yeah,
Okay.
kinda.
Okay,
So it's going to look like that,
okay.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
Then additionally, there is the door, so that's the front. And then additionally, there is a door to the out of the garage, the automobile garage here that you exit from inside where the vehicles are, pedestrian door out into the backyard.
Okay,
And that will have the same door treatment as the pedestrian door going up the stairwell.
okay, and there's no sidewalk, you do come out on grass like this, or
No,
Or
it's,
is it-
it's no, it'll
Okay.
have some kind of little
Okay.
3x3 or
sidewalk?
some little
through?
lead walk or something to kind of,
Okay, so
articulates
that's
it.
two doors, and then
Oh,
we got
yeah,
one more door?
yeah, yes, one sec. Yeah, there is if you look at the site plan, there's a little sidewalk
Oh, yeah,
right
okay,
there, okay?
perfect, mhm.
And then the last door is this door, and that is storage under the stairs. So it's an exterior locked door, and as I stand here, I've got two of them that are Craftsman style. I'll just put the storage door as Craftsman, and they'll all match.
Okay, so the front goes upstairs, this one side
One
comes out
goes
of the garage,
out of
and
the
the other
vehicle
one is the
traffic,
storage.
And the other one goes under the staircase,
Right,
for a total of 3 pedestrian doors.
okay. But we're gonna make them all look the same?
We're gonna make them all the Craftsman style with the light in. Not much use underneath the stair, but I might as well make it match, it's
Yeah,
fine.
okay,
Don't have a problem with that.
that's all I had, thank you.
You're welcome.
I said one quick question. The thin brick,
Yes,
does it come in with formed corners?
yes,
Okay.
it does.
That was my only.
The mechanicals for the ADU, where are you putting your mechanicals for the ADU?
We are currently showing them back behind the door, yeah.
man door.
Yeah, let me show you here. Hand me that, Fred, I'll use yours.
Sure.
Yeah. Mechanicals, the one unit for the
Okay. I got it.
HVAC is back there in
Yep,
that corner.
got it, okay. While you got that up there, your driveway, do you have any stamping or any type of texture on your driveway?
We don't, we have ribbon to the, obviously to the front plane of the porch.
Mhm.
And then it's a solid park there, and then it's a solid pour along there. We have enough for impervious, but I'm not opposed to if you want to ribbon it all the way. It really is
Okay.
immaterial to me. The-
Is the hardy siding you're gonna use, is it smooth or textured?
Smooth.
Smooth, thank you. Your front deck material, did you call that out somewhere? I didn't
It's
see.
concrete with a
That's concrete?
lip.
Okay, all right. And then my last question is for staff. In this Seminole Heights overlay, the ADU allowable square footage,
1,100.
1,100. So we're over that.
So they're gonna back out the stairwell because it's interior, so it'll be under the 1,100 max.
Okay. Okay. That's all my questions.
While you've got the site plan up, that front walkway, is that 3 feet wide? Is that what that's listed as?
On the pedestrian walkway to the front door?
Yes.
It's, what width is it? It's 3 feet that flares to 6.
Okay, and that's what you built on the previous house, the picture you showed us? I guess my question is, why 3 feet? I didn't know if that was a pervious thing as well, you were trying to cut.
So the AI stuff is just a walkway. The site plan shows it flaring up to 6. My preference is to flare it out to, the stairs are captivated within the welcome walls, and then you take that
Sure.
sidewalk and bump to the edge, and then you get a clean line there. Versus me
It was a
just,
very thorough presentation, but could you just throw the picture up of that one, of the built house?
that was actually built?
Yes.
Yeah,
please.
okay.
square now. All right, and that's, everything you presented, it looks like that, so there's no changes from that.
Yeah, there's some slight improvements with the caps and stuff,
Yeah,
and,
right.
but yes, essentially, that's 99.5% of the house. There's been some further definition on the recessed windows, and that's a two-story frame, so you wind up cheating the trim to try to create a little bit of boldness to it.
Okay, that's all the questions I have. Any other questions? All right, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal if you so choose.
I ain't arguing with anybody.
All right, perfect. All right, at this point, we're going to close the public portion of the hearing and move on to discussion. Floor is open.
He just needs to tighten up some of his details, but it's fine. I'm good with it all.
I don't have anything to discuss.
All right, work with staff on the fencing.
And the landscape, yeah.
Yeah, the screening, he needs to mark the corner trim is 6 inches because it's noticed for the gable vent needs to be wood. He needs to formalize that, mechanical screening,
And a scoring pattern in the driveway.
scoring pattern of driveway. We need the actual specifications for the entry doors, the man doors, the door hardware and lighting, not just pictures. Roofing material actually needs to be specified on the plans and the breaking manufacturing specs, just that it does have that.
And all the same doors.
Yeah, right, yep.
Okay,
He's got it down.
you've been delegated.
Gosh darn it. Stop taking notes. Okay, let's see if I can't mess this one up too. I move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing for ARC '26 0000171 for the property located at 407 East Adelaide Street with the following conditions: that the applicant work with staff and present the brick manufacturer for the thin brick and the specifications, the roofing material. We need the actual specifications for the entry doors, the door hardware, lighting, and that all the ADU doors be the same for the entry doors. That they specify a 6-inch corner trim on the plans, change the gable vent to wood from a synthetic. They get with staff about the mechanical screening of the mechanical units, because based on the finding in fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Tampa Heights Historic District design guidelines of the city of Tampa for the following reasons: that it has met the criteria for the Secretary of Interior standards.
Second.
Okay, does the applicant understand all those conditions?
I do, thank you.
All right, perfect. All right, we have a motion, a second. Applicant has agreed to the conditions. Seeing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye, motion passes unanimously. Congratulations. It's gonna be a pretty house. All
Thank you.
right, I'm looking for a motion to receive and file submitted documents and exhibits.
So moved?
All right, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes, and we are adjourned.